The MayDay itself is a day of the oppressed, and the students are part of the oppressed, and that's why we members of the Education Rights Campaign are here, to protest about the enslavement going on at the University of Lagos. As everybody knows, the University of Lagos authorities have been doing everything possible in the last few weeks to further enslave students by making them to lose their rights to freedom of expression and association. First and foremost, we want to ask the labor movement, to respond to the enslavement going on at UNILAG, by doing everything possible to call the authorities, to rescind all of the decisions and measures they are imposing on students, which will make them to lose their right to freedom of association and expression. Also, we are here, to try and get the attention of the federal government as well as other officials of government, especially the Minister of Education, whose voice we have not heard about, even though despite all of the crises that have been breaking out in the universities across the country. We want to ask the basic question. Is the Minister of Education, is he alive or dead? Is he sleeping? Because you have had campuses like University of Ibadan shut, University of Lagos closed down, University of Port Harcourt closed down with 2 students shot dead at that campus, and we never had the Minister of Education at any point in time coming out to address a press conference, to speak on all of these issues, to tell us what the federal government will do to address all of these problems. And these are federal government universities. So we are at a loss. And these are mayors, that used to, that the military government, the despotic military government in the olden days, used to enforce, on Nigerians. And since 1999, we have done away with militarism, which is why we are calling on the University of Lagos, not to bring back militarism into the democratic system of governance that we have in the country. A university should be a citadel, of democracy, not just of learning, but also of the, celebration, of the best ideas that can promote human rights, that can promote freedom of association and expression, not to be implementing measures that will make ordinary students not able to speak up. Because when you begin to talk about the problem of leadership in this country, how can you provide an efficient leadership in the next 10 years when students at their formative period, have their right to association, to expression, taken away from them, and then when you have a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who gets there for the next 4 years, he doesn't come out to even push a motion or a bill, and Nigerians begin to say that that senator is not educated. It is because of the kind of miseducation, that university vice chancellors and management, implement while students are in their formative periods. They implement policies that make students to feel that they are not human beings. If you look at the constitution of the University of Lagos Student Union, for instance, this is a constitution that should not be seen, in enlightened environment. And it's unfortunate that University of Lagos, that calls itself the pride of the nation, is parading this kind of constitution of the student union. Even the ERC is more democratic, has a more democratic constitution, compared to the constitution of the University of Lagos Student Union. And this constitution was imposed on students, was written by professors in that university, and imposed and forced down the throat of students. May I inform you that before those professors brought out this constitution, they first traveled all over the world. They say, according to them, they were going to examine the constitution of different student unions in UK, in South Africa, and they came back with this kind of constitution. We are rejecting all of it because students are human beings, and essentially they must have the right to be able to say no or say yes to any policies, whether of the government or of the authorities. We are not promoting violence. What we are promoting essentially is that a university environment must be an environment that promotes decent opinion. All that we must establish is that decent opinion must be disseminated through civil means. Once that is established, anybody must be able to reject anything or oppose anything. For instance, the labor movement is demanding for 56,000 minimum wage. The labor movement has declared strikes in many states where the governors are reneging on paying workers' salary. And the federal government or state government has not decided, to proscribe the NSC or TUC. In Kaduna State, where Rufai tried to introduce a measure that will make workers to begin to sign off their right to trade unionism, all Nigerians rose up to condemn it, and it's not likely that kind of measure will see the light of the day. Obasanjo brought the trade union amendment bill trying to enslave labor, and it was rejected roundly. ASU has protested, went on strike severally in this country. The federal government has never dared to proscribe ASU except in the 80s when they were proscribed. But since the last 16 or 17 years of democratic rule in this country, such a thing has not been done. And that's why we're asking the question, why student union? Why must student unions be proscribed just as soon as students protest for their rights? We are saying no to this, and we are also saying no to the constant closure of campuses. One student begins to fight for their right. At the University of Lagos, students protested for just a few hours, and the next thing was that the Vice Chancellor went on radio and announced the closure of the campus. I must commend UI students for refusing to go home and forcing the authorities to begin to renegotiate that decision to close down the campus. That is kind of example that we should follow, because we must make the point that a university Vice Chancellor does not own the campus. The students, the workers are stakeholders in the university environment. So not one person or a democratic senate can just sit and shut down the university and ask students to go home in the next 4 hours. It's not done anywhere. And I'm also sound a note of warning. This attitude that Vice Chancellors as well as the leadership of other tertiary institutions always have towards students. That students are fools, students are children, students are people that should be shown the way around. We cannot accept that. According to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, once you are 18, you are an adult. So once you are in the university environment, you are an adult. As an undergraduate, you can become anything in the next 4 years after you get. So this idea of university micromanaging student union, having a constitution that will make students to be answerable to the DSA, where the DSA will be the one constituting the electoral commission for student union election, that is not acceptable. Professors, PhD holders are meant to be doing research, to be able to assist our economy to grow, not to be doing student union constitution for students, organizing union elections. It's part of indolence. It's a sign that many of these elements are just there. They have nothing they are doing. And because they have nothing they are doing, they have enough time to be writing student union constitution, to be putting their nose where it does not concern them. Students are human beings. As an 18-year-old, I can vote for the next person who will become the president of Nigeria. Why can't I vote for my student union? At the University of Lagos, student union leadership is elected through what is called electoral college. That means students have to choose some class captains and some elements to vote on their behalf for their leaders. University of Lagos must stop this nonsense. We are saying enough is enough. We are saying enough is enough. The Vice Chancellor of that campus must begin to reverse all of these undemocratic measures. We should be hearing UNILAG in good light. About a few months ago, we heard that a graduate of that university scored one of the highest that you can ever found in the university system in Nigeria. That's the kind of example we should be promoting and hearing about, not just in UNILAG but in other universities. But if you are hearing that a university is writing constitution, doing union election, banning student union, that is nonsense, and the universities must stop it. To round up, we must make the point that the Minister of Education remains the highest official within the federal government cabinet who is answerable to all of the issues happening in the education sector. And we are so much concerned that over the past 3 weeks, that 3 campuses have been closed across the country. Over the past 3 weeks, that students have risen up on many campuses, demanding for one issue or the other. That minister has refused to do anything, and we think that if he's not ready to work, the federal government should be thinking of a replacement for him, because the question is that if you are chosen to be in a position, we expect you to serve the interests of the constituent part of that ministry. But unfortunately, up to today, nothing has been heard from the minister. We must also make the point that what is happening in the campuses today is a sign of the rot that has crept into the university system over the time. If you look at all of the protests from UNILAG to UI to Uniport, it's similar issues that students are fighting over. Breakdown of the municipal services, water not flowing very well, poor electricity supply because of the shutdown, the collapse of electricity generation across the country. If you must know, Nigerians from across the communities and across the nation have been protesting against this stability power supply, crazy bill and all of that. What you are realizing now is that all of these issues that Nigerians outside are protesting over are also creeping to the university. That's to show you that the universities are part and parcel of this society, and for the universities to be free, Nigerian society itself has to be free. And that's why our call in the Education Rights Campaign is that students from across the country must unite their struggle with the struggles of workers so that we can jointly fight for a better Nigeria, a Nigeria that can ensure that the education system can be reformed and revived so that our children can be able to go to schools that will upgrade them and make them better people in future.